we are working on practice sheet 28. And most of you that have been here all year should know some of our basics about doing these. We know that we need to break up our shape when we're doing area of composite shapes. We break up our shapes and we put in our numbers. So here we have a 6 and a 15. Your job is to put the formula, substitute and solve for that. Then we have this semicircle, okay? This is 6. And again, I need you to remember this is the diameter because when we do area, we actually want the radius. So remember, find the radius. It's half of 6, okay? Now you also need to remember, since I have a semicircle, that at some point you need to divide by 2. I would make yourself a note somewhere. Put divide by 2 somewhere because it's easy to forget that, okay? So your job is to find those areas and add them, okay? Number 2, this is an equation. We do the opposite to both sides, right? So if you're listening, remember you do plus 17, plus 17. Cross off, divide by 5, divide by 5. And you know you will get a decimal on this one. Number 3, some of you still are struggling with this. This is multiply. That is multiply, where you count it over, okay? And then we do the triangle on this. Negative times positive gives me a negative. Okay. So I'm going to start you off on this one. It says, Jeff bought a bottle of water for $2. He also bought some hot dogs for $3 each. Jeff did not spend more than 14. That means he has 14. Okay, just assume he has 14. He cannot spend $14 or more. Okay, which inequality can be used to find H, the number of hot dogs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about my sign. And then your job is to figure out this part, which means that we're figuring out for the hot dogs plus the $2, right? So when it says he does not spend more, that means he can spend 14, but he cannot spend more. He can spend less. All of these two, or both of these two, are less than. So I know it's not these two. Okay? I will also say, normally we're like, oh, well, it's $3 for each hot dog. Well, notice it has that, 3H, a number next to a variable. Okay? So your job is to figure it out between those two. Number 5, we have been doing this and we are still struggling. At One Stop Gaming, the regular price of a video game is $64, but it is on sale this week for $48. What is the percent discount or the percent of change? Guys, remember when it's percent of change, I'm almost always subtracting to figure out how much it is changing by. Okay? So, since I'm finding percent, that's our backup method, right? So that is over of equals percent over 100. And our of, remember, that's our total whole or original. At One Stop Gaming, the regular price is $64. That's our of. It goes there. You have to subtract to find the difference. Okay? Subtract to find the difference. Then you will cross multiply. Number 6, find the circumference. Okay? So guys, what is this here? What do we have labeled here? And hopefully you know that's the diameter. So we go to our formula chart. That's not our formula chart. Let's see. There we go. That's our formula chart. We go to our formula chart for circumference. C equals 2 pi r or pi d. Well, I'm looking right here what I had written, and I wrote d. So remember, C equals pi d. Write the formula. It's good practice. Write the formula. Number 7, a farmer plants crops on 48 acres of land. This is important. The circle graph shows the percent of land used for some different types of crops. How many more acres of corn are there than other crops? Okay, so if we look at this, we notice that we're missing a section. Okay, so we have 40% plus 20% plus 10%, which is 70%, right? So the rest of this, we should know, is 30, because 70 plus 30 gives me 100%. That will never be the answer, okay? In 7th grade, you're applying that. How many more acres of corn are there than other? Well, corn is 30%, and other is 10%. And when it says how many more, you find the difference, okay? Then change the percent to a decimal and multiply. Well, what do I multiply by? Well, it's asking for acres. Well, 48, that's your total whole original. We're multiplying by that. That will answer. That is almost always what you're going to be doing. At some point, you're either applying the percent or you're finding the percent. Okay, number 8. I'm really going to give this to you, so listen carefully. Circle the numbers that are rational numbers. Every single number that we know is rational in 7th grade, except for pi. So cross off pi. Everything else is rational. Okay? Next year, you will learn about other numbers that are irrational. Okay? But all the numbers we know in 7th grade are rational numbers. Everything we know. Okay? Every single thing. Except pi. There's some other ones you're going to learn later. Circle all the rational numbers. Okay. What is the median of softball? So remember, you count forward and backward, okay, until you get to the middle, okay? Go forward and backward until you get to the middle. If there's 2 middle numbers, see where they are, and see if they're in the same column, then that's your median. If they're in different columns, you figure out what's between those two. B, what is the difference between the ranges? So this was that question. So I need to find this range. Biggest minus smallest. Subtract that. Same thing here. Biggest minus smallest. This one has a dot. Okay, this is our dot. Find the range and then subtract. So basically, you're subtracting 3 times. Find this range, then subtract.